Y'all know what to do now, those that are not familiar with it, for the spoon and all that?
I think it's pretty nice.
Who's not familiar?
Okay. I think I recognize it,
Ready?
Rabbi Yehuda used to refer to the 10 plagues by their initials. You can do it again 3 more times. Yitzhak, Hadash, acronym.
Now, the children of Israel, numbering approximately 6 million, left Egypt. Imagine a long procession of people, each family transporting what few belongings they could carry on their backs.
Dough draped across their shoulders, baked in the sunlight, turning into matzah. Of all the bakers, Moses' favorites were a husband and wife team, Dora and Manny Blum. Dora was known for her pastries, which, while the best in the land, had a tendency to go bad after only a day or two. Still, she marketed them as day old under the name Stale Dora.
That's what that tastes like.
As for Manny, history will remember him fondly as Moses' personal baker who baked and carried Moses' matzah on his back. Then, one day, perhaps succumbing to a momentary bout of heat stroke, Moses scolded Manny for, shall we say, less than adequately washing. The perspiration was not pleasant. Manny became the butt of many jokes among the men at the Shtibla. He would be taunted with jibes like, "Here comes Manny schwitzing." Manny had the last laugh, however, when, after arriving in Tel Aviv, he and Dora opened the world's largest matzah factory.
Manny schwitzing?
His brother Isaac started a competing matzah company with the catchy slogan, "I can't believe it's Margareton."
Oh, that is. You got a long way to get to that one. Oh, worth it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's funny.
Are we starting to see 2:30 in the morning here? Gordon? Oh, yes. As they approached the mighty waves of the Red Sea, the Egyptian army was only a mile or so behind. Moses lifted his arm. Okay. And the entire Red Sea split in half. The Hebrews crossed in dryness.
When the last of them reached the opposite banks, the Egyptians began entering the same dry path as riverbed. Just as the last soldiers entered the dry river bottom, the waters fell in on the entire army, drowning all of them.
These soldiers too were sent to heaven, for they had done nothing wrong. God merely wanted to protect the children of Israel.
They wandered through the desert for 40 years. They were guided by a tall column of smoke which God used to show them the way.
They were fed by manna, which fell from the sky like snowflakes. It was edible and tasty. On Fridays, a double portion of
Manna fell.
manna fell. And on Shabbos, none fell. This is why we have 2 loaves of challah on Friday nights.
Did you know that
Can I
actually?
explain that?
Yeah.
And God said you should go and gather for 1 day. But in all things, you know what Chazera means? People, pigs, they go out to take more than their share. And so if they took more than their share, they rotted. Yet on Friday, they could go out and take a double share and it didn't rot. And the 2 challahs, like Dr. Daddy said so. I had a lot of trouble with it. But that's another story itself.
Did you know that after only 10 days in the desert, the Hebrews came to Mount Sinai? Here Moses climbed to the top of the mountain and received the 10 Commandments from God. He brought it back down to the Jewish people and taught it to them word for word.
God announced to the Jewish people that the only reason they had been freed from Egypt was so they could become a strong nation of people, travel to all parts of the world, and pass along God's message to all people.
And what is God's message? Do good and avoid bad.
I don't mean to interrupt here, but when do we get to eat soon?
Dad? As you can see, we have much to be thankful for. The word Dayenu means that would have been enough. We sing the Dayenu song to name all the different things that God did in order for the Jewish people to achieve their freedom. Let's sing.
So this is in English. You can try it in English or Hebrew, however you want to do this.
Take a vote.
Let's go to Steve's doing Hebrew. There's no Hebrew in it.
Well, we can get you one.
We can get the
Steve's good
Hebrew
at that.
real quick here.
Steve?
We have the Hebrew ones
No,
right here.
right?
Oh.
Steve's good. Okay, somebody wind up with Steve, yeah.
Oh, no, not yet, that's for later.
Oh, is that wrong
It
song?
has to be winding down first.
Yeah. Wrong song.
You're winding down
So
first.
you want to do it?
It's the one the hard one that they want you singing.
So it'd be interesting to try to figure it out in English.
Had he brought us out from Egypt without harming the Egyptian army? Dayenu. Had he harmed the Egyptian army without wrecking all their idols? Dayenu. Had he destroyed all their idols without killing all their firstborn? Dayenu. Had he taken all their firstborn without giving us their possessions? Dayenu. Had he given us all their property without making the Red Sea split? Dayenu. Had he divided the Red Sea for us, even if we had to get wet? Dayenu. Had he let us cross the wild water without drowning those who chased us? Dayenu. Had he drowned the ones who chased us without helping us in the desert? Dayenu. Had he guided us through the desert without feeding us for 40 years? Dayenu. Had he fed us manna for 40 years, never giving us our Shabbos? Dayenu. Had he given us our Shabbos, but never brought us to Mount Sinai? Dayenu. Had he led us to Mount Sinai, but did not give us the Torah? Dayenu. Had he given us the Torah, but not led us into Israel? Dayenu. Had he brought us into Israel without granting us the holy temple? Dayenu. Dayenu, 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 Dayenu.
So,
Perfect.
that's the story of Passover. And now we are some of the special, what are some of the special symbols of the Passover Seder? And how do they tie into the story of Passover?
It's important to pay attention to three items in particular. In fact, a very early sage who lived long ago, Rabbi Gamliel, said that if we don't explain the following three symbols during the Seder, we haven't fulfilled God's commandment to tell the story.
Shank bone. The shank bone is the leg of the chicken. It is to remind us of the animals that were sacrificed in the holy temple long ago. The sacrifice was brought to the temple as a way of saying thank you to God for the angel of death pass over the houses of our ancestors in Egypt.
We do not have a holy temple in Jerusalem today. All that remains of it is the famous western wall of the temple. Someday the holy temple will be rebuilt.
In the meantime, all we can do is remember that it once existed. The shank bone helps us remember.
What about the matzah?
The matzah reminds us how quickly the Jewish people had to leave Egypt.
When one is a slave, life is controlled by those in power. In a moment's notice, a life of a relative calm and comfort can turn into a horrible nightmare. In our own lives, we should never grow too comfortable with our situation.
I'm not.
Indeed, it could all change overnight, and we too might find ourselves trying to escape with only a few meager belongings draped across our shoulders.
Matzah reminds us how sad times our ancestors had. And in remembering their suffering, we can better appreciate the glorious gift of freedom in which we enjoy. The matzah reminds us of how lucky and privileged we are.
Morror, a bitter herb, is intended to help us sense the bitterness of our ancestors' experience. Why do we want to share their discomfort with them? Because that's how families behave. We stick together, they share the good times and the bad. They stand side by side with their fellow family members. And they say to the world out there, if you plan to hurt my brother or sister, then you better plan to hurt me too. One for all for one.
When we swallow the bitter herbs, we should think not only of our cleared sinuses, but of our family members long ago. For in their final moments, as they met their torturing death, surely they must have wondered if any of them would survive.
Shouldn't we be having that?
No, I was already showing everybody while you were reading. I was showing everybody while you were reading.
Yeah, but should they have it okay?
No, not yet.
Oh,
Next
okay.
page.
And if any of them did survive, would their descendants continue to remember their struggle? And for how many generations would the story be told? And would their terrible sacrifice ever be forgotten?
Right. By tasting the bitterness of those herbs, we answer their wondering. As they look down from heaven tonight, they will have their answer. For as we tell their terrible story, and as we force harsh-tasting words into our mouths, we will be saying to them, we remember, we remember. Oh, the second cup of wine. Lift up the second grape and say. I guess we're going to read this together. It's on page 27. Okay, so.
Blessed are you,
Blessed are you, eternal God, ruler of the universe, who saved us from our forefathers from the prisons of Egypt, and brought us through all the centuries since to this night, to eat the matzah of your earth, and sing the manner, and eternal God, and bring us to the festivals of peace. Blessed are you, Savior of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Rohi Peri Haggadah.
Look, Dad, we get to eat now.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I guess we're eating the matzah now, huh? Before eating any bread, we wash our hands and recite the blessing.
No, you need four for next time.
That's Susan.
Yeah.
That was good, Richard.
You guys are living life. Cut the hair, long hair.
Actual wedding time.
Guys, I don't remember the speaking part.
Hey, you can't take it. Yeah. Good
We eat
wishes.
my funds.
I'm gonna eat a lot of my Lord.
I should.
Smooches.
You should see me and my father put it together like 12:30 at night.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, you want to do this?
Very much. I'll tell you what, I take most pride in it, not the funny stuff, but the serious stuff. That prayer was good. Yeah, I'm just trying to give David a run for the money.
I'm just saying, things you can understand and that you, therefore, are balanced and whatever.
Daddy.
That works.
Anyway, we'll see you later.
Yo, blessed you. You're eternal.
Just stick your hands inside. Come on, AJ, now.
Let's see. Like good.
Brilliant.
Jenny said I should keep it cold.
Advise you guys to stay tuned for your increase the borrowers coming up.
Uncle Jack. Uncle Jack, I was a little kid, Uncle Jack, he came to our house once or twice, I don't remember. But as a kid, the only thing I can remember about him is that he was funny.
He was good.
He was funny. That's all I know about him is that he was funny. Uncle Jack Hunt. He made me laugh. That's cool.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yeshab mitzvah v'tivon v'tivon v'doyim.
Oh, and it's so good when you find ones like this.
Life is bittersweet. We take a green vegetable, which is somewhat bitter, we dip it into the chorosis, which are sweet. We will do that now. With Michael Morror.
Now?
Jenny!
Yeah, Jenny.
What?
I figured you could also use baker's chocolate for this. That's bittersweet.
Bittersweet,
Can we do that next year?
Thank you, sir.
Have you ever had baker's chocolate?
Yeah.
One sweet.
Actually, that's not sweet at all, so that won't count. She could just approve of that.
Baker's chocolate with sugar on top.
Fine.
No, we don't get.
Uncle Steve also.
Yippee!
Another one?
I need to know.
No?
Going down there? Everybody got it? Sure?
Yeah.
We miss out on something?
Everyone down here does.
Where's Bobby?
One baby.
Got it.
Bobby?
Got it.
Yeah, everybody's got a baby.
Ready?
Take.
Asher Kishan Mitzvah V'Tzivar Al Amras Morror.
Are such bad more. Can I have some more?
The opposite is no.
Delightful stuff.
Second, anyone?
Yes.
Maybe get the dessert.
This is dessert.
I might point out, by the way, that these lovely napkin, the lovely napkin arrangement is, I bet, by Jen.
Really?
It's very pretty.
Yeah, she learned how to do that.
Michael has to give it to me.
Laura, did you do that too?
Everybody else want more?
Thank you, Uncle Murray.
We have to mention this, right?
We have one more thing. Where's everybody going?
We haven't done it yet. No, I don't know when they're all going.
I think they're looking for the pen.
2 more minutes, we can stop the video.
Susan?
George just tried to go get it, and then my own disappeared. This is what we use.
Oh, enjoy our, okay, my mistake, sorry.
Where do you want it?
I think that you guys have been several times, it's probably not in the spot anymore.
I over here.
I want you to move.
Wait, this is Lori.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying this? Yeah, you're enjoying it? Okay, good.
Trying to blow the coal.
Oh, is this
Coming out of the
Yeah.
tip, which is hard.
No excuses, no excuses.
Specifically for me.
I want a lot.
Me neither, but I'm saying
Rich?
we'll have some white sauce.
No, we're not crude. If anybody thinks they would like a little water to have before you get into your horseradish there, you want me to pass this down?
No, we filled up in grape juice.
Okay.
We're at step ahead.
I want water.
We got salt water, that ought to help. Here we go.
No.
I'll be glad.
I don't have one, Joe doesn't have one.
Lori doesn't. I didn't get one. Neither did I, but that's okay.
It's coming up.
I don't really mind.
Not gonna get with Eddie.
I ain't taking anybody.
Here, Susan, have that for mine.
I heard my name. You need two more, buddy. Guys.
What?
Be careful how you handle it because it's dripping.
No, just take a bite.
Richard.
Richard, Papa's got your drink.
Coming at you.
Richard's got one. This is mine.
Richard has.
How many do we need? Both?
Richard.
All right.
Okay. Mike,
If you do not have one, raise your hand.
I do not.
Daddy does not have? Oh, good.
Daddy, you need one?
And I want
I'm going to
What is that?
Put it back on.
No.
It's not enough on. It's not enough on. Just a little bit.
I can see the layer. That's
There's tiny little mistakes. There's that.
No, we hurry up. We're getting all over. Wait, it's melting.
Smell. Our hands. Hey, everybody got? Shh.
Yes.
There's no broth up. Eat it. Enjoy. Oh, this is the same stuff. This is the bottled stuff.
By all means, Mike, we'll have the rest of
I
mine.
like that. This is the tame stuff.
Want some wine?
Mike? Yes.
That's not bad at all. Okay, eat to make sure just a couple of
I could feel my nose going up.
I have never had
Where
a
is Japanese?
Like to put all together.
girls in the room.
She needs like spoonfuls of it.
Ready to rest of mine?
I have what I had now.
So then they don't get ruined during the meal, which will happen. We don't eat them during the meal.
Wow.
Just keep it.
It's like snorting Listerine with sugar.
Daddy, you don't have to
Yeah, he said you have to be very quietly, in a hoarse voice.
Daddy, you're supposed to yell.
I yelled at you already.
Can I go help?
It's dinner time.
Already? Can I go help?
Isn't that quick? Grab this card.
Oh,
What, you have a whole meal?
Yeah, there's more.
Can I turn this off during dinner?
Yeah,
Daddy? But,